Welcome to Renaissance of Wrestling, where I analyze everything that is wrestling. I talk about how I would make it better or how it's already doing great. And today, I actually had a different video in mind originally, but I saw something where I felt like I had to address it that made me switch up everything I was initially going to do. I had to focus everything on this, and it was Bleacher Report's 50 greatest WWE superstars of all time. They said that they made this list based on popularity, who are the needle movers, their time active, pay-per-view appearances, and skill. I had to make this video because this list is I am glad that it's widely considered as trash. This is one, for those who are not aware, Bleacher Report usually, and not just in wrestling, but in other sports, they put out these lists each year. Usually I see it in basketball for top 50 NBA players going to the new season. But they make these lists and it feels like they make it intended on the purpose of pissing people off. Getting fans riled up, sharing it, talking about how bad it is. It feels very much intentional of that because there's no way of looking at this list and people are just like, yeah, literally no one that I've seen so far is looking at this list and saying, okay, I can agree with this. This isn't like the usual YouTuber or whoever who makes a list, and some people say they like it, some people say they don't know. It is widely considered trash. Let me start this off here for you. I'm going to put it on the side here for you guys as well. But they have at number 1, Bret Hart. Now, a lot of people, they love Bret Hart. And I'm biased towards not being his biggest fan. And this is going to sound biased, whatever. I don't care at this point, but he's not number 1. You can put him at your top 10. He's definitely in at least top 50. Anything outside of a top 15 is just hate, in my opinion. But number 1, the greatest wrestler of all time, Bret Hart. Okay, number 2, they have Steve Austin. Fair. I will give them that. Steve Austin's a top 3 minimum. There's 3 names to me that are in the top 3 wrestlers all time. And that's Hogan, Rock, Austin. And as long as at least Austin's in that, fair. I'll give y'all that. But at number 3, instead of Hogan or Austin, you have Randy Savage. Who is talented? Again, Randy Savage is talented. Randy Savage is great. He is charisma personified. Top 3, though. Top 3. Look, this is what I'm talking about. It feels like it's clickbait. There's a Mount Rushmore in wrestling that should very well be respected. And I said, 3 of those names I have are Hogan, because if it wasn't for Hogan, we wouldn't have had pay-per-views. Because if you remember correct, WrestleMania was the first wrestling pay-per-view, if I remember correctly. That era was the first era in general of pay-per-views. Hogan was the biggest draw in wrestling and the biggest boom of wrestling history. One of the most recognizable names in wrestling history. Like, there's people who had Hogan action figures before they even know who Hogan was. When Hogan, look, a lot of people that are millennials that grow up on wrestling, you got to remember this. You actually never saw Hogan until 2002 in WWE, but yet you knew who he was. That's how big Hogan was. 2 and 3 has to be Hogan and Austin. Sorry. 2 and 3 has to be Rock and Austin because they were the biggest wrestlers and the next biggest boom for wrestling. They are synonymous for what they did in the Attitude Era for wrestling. Rock was able to be so big, he surpassed wrestling itself and became one of the biggest actors in Hollywood. Whether you want to say he's the most talented actor is not what I'm discussing, but he's one of the biggest names in Hollywood. That's how big The Rock is. The fact that he comes into wrestling right now and just gives it this boom. That's the impact The Rock has had on wrestling from then and now. Stone Cold is another person who, because of him and his feud with Vince McMahon, wrestling hit a huge boom. And the fourth name that I put on there, personally I say John Cena, but the other name I will respect on there is Roman Reigns. Similar reasons. They were able to surpass wrestling. Regardless of how you feel, especially for Cena, he surpassed being just wrestling, especially in recent years being in Hollywood. But I would say even before he went to Hollywood, his name was synonymous with wrestling for those who were like younger millennials and onwards. You mentioned wrestling, and that's John Cena. So we have a top top four, the fourth name being Undertaker. You have a top four, and only one of those four names I have in the Mount Rushmore are mentioned. John Cena literally is outside the top five, which I'm going to skip over John Cena for a second because we got to go to number 6 here. At number 6, they have Bruno Sammartino. We haven't got to The Rock yet, who's right under him. Still haven't got to Hogan yet, for everything I said, or Roman. We have Bruno Sammartino. Like, I understand. We need to acknowledge the past. But can anyone recall a Bruno moment? And I understand, if you're too young, whatever, that's the thing. Sure, not really. Because I was not around for when Hogan slammed Andre, sorry. I wasn't around for that, but I know of it very well. There's many moments that you may not have been alive for, but you know it. There's not a single Bruno moment anyone really knows. Yes, Bruno was very dedicated to the business. He stayed with WWE for years, but you want to know something? Wrestling wasn't really doing anything while he was at the peak. There was nothing really big about wrestling, and that's why I don't think I have him in my top 15, have him in your top 50, but top 10 at number 6, they have him above Shawn Michaels. Roddy Piper is at number 9 above Hogan, above Kurt Angle. Like, you have Bruno Sammartino and Roddy Piper above Hogan, Angle, Roman, Andre, Eddie Guerrero, Randy Orton. Triple H is at 21. I named several people and Triple H is at 21. This is why, and I'm going to link it over here as well, why I mentioned Triple H is one of the most underappreciated wrestlers. Because Triple H really should also be in the top 15. I'm not going to go over the entire list. I wanted to mainly go over those. But I'll tell you guys right now, if I was making this list, number 1 is Hogan. I pretty much mentioned the top 4 already. Hogan, Rock, Austin, Cena. I would actually put on number 5, Roman Reigns. Because of his current run, I'm going to respect it. I'm going to acknowledge him. He has surpassed wrestling himself. Number 6, I would say, okay, we could put Undertaker at number 6. 7, I would put Shawn Michaels. I'm just going off the top of my head here for sure. I will probably need a bit more time to make this a bit better. And if you have better ideas in the comments, please comment below. I do think that there's space for Triple H still to be in that top 10 because of how important he was to wrestling. You know what? I'll put Bret Hart before Triple H, to be fair. That's actually, I think, a debate that should be had, and I'm all here for that debate. Triple H versus Bret Hart. In fact, have that in the comments. Who would you put higher, Triple H or Bret Hart? Because there's actually equal enough discussion. Because if you look at Bret Hart's put up there because he ushered in the new generation. After Hogan left, he was very much in charge of WWE for like that 4-year run. But if we're being honest as well, there's a good portion of Bret Hart being at the top of WWE where WCW was killing them in the ratings. We got to talk about that. And if you look at that 4-year run, you can look at Triple H's run from 2000 until 2005. He was very much the guy in that period as well. He was able to be recognized greatly. And he's also a great wrestler in his own right, too. If you look at it like this, There's a lot of things Triple H did in the ring Bret Hart can't do, and vice versa. Triple H will hands down always have a better spine buster than Bret Hart. People are going to talk about, oh, Bret Hart's sharpshooter. Name 5 moves, not finishers, just 5 moves of Bret Hart for all those saying that. You say that, I will acknowledge what you're saying with this. I can name 5 Triple H moves. His running jumping knee, I should say. His leg lock that he does. I'm not gonna. If you want to count the spine buster as a signature move, okay, fine, you can do that if you want to. His punches. It sounds cliche, but no, he was very well known for his punches that he was doing. Jeez. Triple H, my point is Triple H got moves, man. Triple H was really great in the ring. And I think it's actually that much understated that I would be willing to put him and Bret Hart side by side to each other. Brock Lesnar deserves to be in the top 15 because of what he did in and out of wrestling, being able to come back in and be so pivotal. Eddie is controversial. I do think if Eddie lived longer, rest in peace to him, one of the greatest, one of my favorites, especially growing up. I do think if he lived longer, he'd be more recognized on the list. I don't know where I would put him yet. I feel like I would maybe have him in the top 20, but I don't know yet. If we're also talking, here's another thing. If we're talking about longevity, it's questionable some of the people who are on here. AJ Styles being on here already is surprising, to say the least. Like, you look through this list and it just looks like people are just shoved in there and we don't know why. They have Jeff Hardy at 43, which is a little surprising. So it feels a little low. Seth Rollins at 26. I've heard arguments for him being in the top 20 as well, and I'm all here for that argument. But please comment below your own top 20, top 50, and let me know what you guys think of this top 50, because this feels asinine. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, like the video. If you have your own opinions, comment below. And if you really agree so much, share it so other people can see it as well. In the meantime, thank you for watching. Peace.